Good morning and welcome on in to a Wednesday, February 25th of 2026. In 1 hour from now, Brian Wilson is going to be joining us Wednesdays with Wilson. I know that he's already up. He's pulling audio from Donald Trump's State of the Union speech last night. There's a lot of audio. A minute 41, I should say an hour and 41 minutes. That is how long the president spoke. That is a record. I don't know how much did he beat the record, though? That's my question.
That was 88 minutes for Bill Clinton.
Was it 80 minutes for Bill Clinton? So
88.
an hour and 41 minutes. So I think that is Donald Trump saying, hold my Diet Coke.
Yes.
By the way, I did ask people on the Daily Dan poll, what grade would you give Donald Trump's speech? And I think if you're conservative by most accounts, I'm seeing that you like Donald Trump's speech. What did people say on the super text line? We asked you to grade his speech.
The YouTube
the Daily
poll,
Dan poll, yes.
Grade Trump's State of the Union address. 80% say A.
Yep.
18% say B, and 2% say C. Nothing below that.
All right. Donald Trump talked about the SAVE Act.
It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote.
Ain't that hard? You know what? The American people, as we know with all of the various polling, the American people do agree with that. And this is where he specifically addressed Leader Thune there in the Senate.
They have cheated, and their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, John.
So the latest on this, by the way, is that Thune does say, I don't know if you have seen this, Joan, I saw it this morning, that he will get a vote, a floor vote there in the Senate this week. While officials, this is from Fox News, while officials report the SAVE Act, the Save America Act, has 50 votes in the Republican-controlled Senate, Thune is warning they don't have enough votes to break a filibuster by the Democrats. They don't have the 60 votes to invoke cloture, which is ending debate and voting. The only thing left, of course, is the nuclear option. You'd need majority support and Senate leadership approval. Not sure where Thune stands on that. I know that he has said that he is okay with the nuclear option, but I don't know if he really truly is. And so you'd basically need every Republican to approve the nuclear option. I'm not sure how many actually do. Nobody has reported how many Republicans actually support the nuclear option. So we've been playing audio from the Donald Trump's speech, the president's speech last night. I do want to play a piece of audio from Abigail Spanberger. Now, she is the new governor for the state of Virginia, and this is hilarious. I want you to listen to what she says.
But here in Virginia, I am working with our state legislature to lower costs and make the Commonwealth more affordable.
Okay.
She's raising taxes on everything.
Well, you're right, as evidenced by this report.
Here's a list of the many tax increases and proposals Democrats in Virginia are considering passing. They include additional local sales tax in all Virginia counties and cities, new personal property tax on electric leaf blowers and electric landscaping equipment, large employer tax, gun and ammunition tax, new income tax brackets, a delivery tax. This would hit you if you make an order on Amazon, Uber Eats, or an order that includes UPS, FedEx delivery, etc. here in Northern Virginia.
Do you not think when Jones, she says that she wants to make the Commonwealth more affordable? I think she wants to make the Commonwealth more affordable for people that just, have zero amount of money. And so just basically people on the government dole, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So she's raising taxes to give to all of the people who have no money, don't work, maybe on welfare, that kind of a thing. Because when you raise the taxes on all the working people, then you're making it less affordable for the people that actually work, and you're giving that money to all the people that are on government benefits and welfare and that kind of thing. I mean, isn't that obvious to me? It's obvious to me. Is it obvious to you?
It's very obvious, and I can't fathom some of these. Like, this is like government overreach to be taxing gym memberships.
Oh yeah, okay.
Dry cleaning,
Joan,
vehicle repairs.
Joan, you've got dogs. How do you tax dog walking?
God. I mean, honestly. So you're a dog walker, and people pay you, and when they pay you, you've got to pay taxes out of that $15 that they just paid you to walk their dogs.
Meantime, the Republicans are all about no tax on tips. Oh, by the way, I'm not even done with all the taxes.
Oh yeah.
There's also a tax they're looking at for events, concerts, an investment income tax, storage facility tax, gym membership tax, dog walking tax, dog grooming tax, counseling tax, digital personal property tax, new car taxes and highway use fees, an increase in the hotel tax here in Arlington. Statewide speed cameras. Now, these aren't taxes, but they would include more fines for some drivers, dry cleaning tax, home repair tax, and a vehicle repair tax.
It just goes on. That is a minute 3 of new taxes.
I think the most egregious one might be taxing your ability to landscape your own property.
What?
Yeah, landscaping equipment. Like if we're gonna come in and say you've got to pay taxes when you buy things to groom your own yard.
Unbelievable. You know, it is horrifying, and I think that she is. Do you think she's going to run for president, Joan?
I do. I mean,
do you?
They're grooming her the same way they're grooming, the Wes Moore of Maryland and Andy Beshear in Kentucky. They're making them take these insane positions on issues, and they're acting on it. They're willfully acting on it. So obviously they're getting support from somebody.
Well, earlier we played you the audio of CNN, Harry Enton. You've got Gavin Newsom, 2028 presidential candidates. Gavin Newsom had 19%. You had Kamala Harris at 18%, Pete Buttigieg at 14%, AOC at 13%. None of them is setting the world on fire, right? So if they're prepping the clown show that is Abigail Spanberger to be the president for the Democrats, the nominee for the Democrats, go right ahead, because that is an indicator as to what she would do, and that's an indicator is what the Democrats want to do, because she is going to be the blueprint, because they won Virginia, right? So that is going to be the blueprint moving forward. By the way, real quickly, and then we're going to get to some great audio that Joan has on the alternate rallies that the Democrats held. So all of that is straight ahead. Real quickly, though, I don't want to lose sight of this.
Among speech watchers tonight, 64% say his policies will move the U.S. in the right direction. And look at the growth President Trump made over the speech. So pre-speech, it was 54% of speech watchers said his policies will move the U.S. in the right direction. After the speech, that number goes up 10 percentage points. So Donald Trump made some progress with people watching the speech from their pre-speech expectations to what they saw in the speech itself. And
listen, the president made some headway last night. I think, if you're a Democrat, you hated the speech. If you are a Republican or conservative, clearly you liked that speech. I do have the Congressman Tim Burchett scheduled to join us at 6:35. I feel like I want to do just from the three of us. All right, so what do you think? Is he actually going to get up to do an interview on Nashville's Morning News after he was no doubt up very late watching Donald Trump's speech? You think, Sam, yes or no? Will he get up and do the interview?
Self-proclaimed insomniac.
Oh, Tim Burchett is?
Yeah.
Plus, he was energized by last night. I mean, there's a lot of energy that comes from a really terrific speech like that. Yeah, I think he's definitely already up.
He probably started on a skateboard.
He probably did. All right, real quickly. So, Joan, you have some audio.
I have 2 pieces of audio.
From the Democrats. They held a couple of different rallies, like out on the mall and so forth there in Washington, D.C. And apparently, and I have not heard this, so, Joan, go ahead and fire away.
Okay, so first of all, Joy Reid joined some of them at the microphone last night for this. Imprison us all they cannot.
No pueden encarcelar.
Okay, so
Oh
that's
my
just-
goodness!
right.
Imprison us all they cannot.
Right. So
What is she
was out
talking
there.
about?
Obviously, President Trump wants to imprison everybody.
Do you know if I were to if singing off key and horribly were a crime, lock them up.
Well, it to me, it's one of those cringy scenes you see in like a sitcom. Where you're like a train wreckery. You can't look away. It's so awful.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be ironic and funny in the context of a TV show, but they do it in public and act like it's supposed to be serious.
Well, they're trying to relive the 60s again. How long did that go for, Joan?
It was a good 30, 40 seconds.
Is anybody looking around like that's not singing? Is anybody looking around like who's going to tell them that this sucks?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. She was celebratory. She thought it was terrific.
Is that Joy Reid singing lead?
Mm-hmm. She was the one singing. They imprison us all.
Pull it up. I want to hear it again.
Just
I want to bask in the glow of the horrificness.
Okay, where'd she go?
Joy Reid singing lead.
Here we go. Oh.
Did anybody tell Joy Reid that she could sing?
I don't know who the woman is who's singing lead here.
Wow, that is so bad. You know what? Let's save that for Brian, because Brian, of course, in addition to being a stellar broadcaster, also is a world-class musician.
Yes,
you're fired. Get out.
Okay, so then there was Chris
Sam.
Murphy, who was also on the stage there.
Yeah.
And he was going on this rant about how, I guess it's people come to this country from other countries and, here's him talk. And then, let me just preface this by saying, as he's talking, a bunch of guys come up on the stage and yell behind him, and you'll hear what they have to say.
The United States to speak truth to power, to explain the trials and tribulations that every immigrant, that every refugee goes through to get here, and to press this country to...
The border! I stuck in the border. Go Trump! Go Trump! Hey, Murphy, you're a scumbag.
Thanks, man.
At the end there, it's hard to hear it. He says, "Hey, Murphy, you're a scumbag."
Wow. Now, if you don't know, Chris Murphy, junior United States Senator from Connecticut, Democrat. He served from 2007 to 2013 in the House of Representatives. Now I guess he's a Democrat. So, yeah, I love that. The people came up behind him and yelled, "Go Trump."
He said, "I came in across the border. Go Trump."
That's funny.
And then he said, "Hey, Murphy, you're a scumbag." I would posit that this guy probably was drinking before he got there, but he was having fun.
Listen, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to be drunk to do that.
You know what the funny thing is? So that guy may have been drunk. But supposedly Joy Reid and the Democrats were sober when they were singing that song.
They were.
That dude sounds more sober than the Democrats who were sober when they sang that horrifying, what is it? They can't imprison all of us or whatever that was.
Imprison us all they cannot.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Now it's going to be stuck in all of our heads all day long. I'm sorry,
it won't.
People.
You know what? When I get off the air, I'm going to take so much NyQuil that I will not have nightmares hearing Joy Reid and the rest of these nutty Democrats singing that silly song. So, anyway,
I need a palate cleanser. Does anyone else need a palate cleanser?
We could throw down some AC/DC or something.
Well, I'm grabbing this off the desktop.
There you go.
And it's Wierenski. Now Jack Hughes hooks it around McCarr. United States with numbers. Back across it comes. Jack Hughes wins it. The golden goal for the United States.
There you go. Love it. By the way, what a sight was it yesterday when we saw all of the, I don't know if it was all of them, but the U.S. hockey team in the Oval Office with their gold medals?
Oh, yeah.
That was very cool as well.
I love that.
Some of them couldn't make it because they literally do play today and tonight. So some of them just could not go with the team.
Right.
But they got into the office. Did you see the moment with Matthew Tkachuk giving President Trump his medal to put on?
You know what? We'll do that coming back. I want to make sure that we're on time so that we can get a very sleepy Tim Burchett on at 6:35. Congressman Tim Burchett is joining us here on the Newsmaker Hotline. Congressman, I've got to ask, how many hours of sleep did you get, and how many cups of coffee are you currently on?
I have not had any coffee yet. I've got a conservative group I meet with, conservative congressmen, and I'll have my coffee there. I have probably less than 3 hours sleep because I get up at 4:30, and then it takes me a little to wind down.
So tell me what you thought about it. And by the way, thank you so much for getting up this early to talk to Nashville's Morning News and the people of Middle Tennessee. It does say a lot about you, your availability and willingness to talk to folks. And so I very much appreciate it. So tell me, number one, and I was on the road when the speech happened. So were you were one of the ones that had a word with Donald Trump as he walked into the chambers. Is that what I'm understanding? What did you say to the president?
That's correct. Well, actually, I'd had a conversation. I'd called him earlier in the morning, a little bit before 7, and I just had an epiphany, I guess. I'm praying for him, and I just wanted to let him know. And he'd given me his phone number, and so I just called him, and sure enough, he picked up the phone, and we talked for 14 minutes just about where the country was headed and what his vision was for all kinds of issues that some I can talk about and some I can't. But it left me with a very good feeling. And then when I saw him, you can read what he said. It was very kind what he said to me. And then we had a nice little chat right there. And then when he came off the floor, he hollered at me again. So I was just, I'm incredibly honored, though. It's not, I guess your ego could take over, but I am just a kid from West Knoxville. I was publicly educated. It took me 6 years to get out of UT. I didn't drink or smoke pot. Daddy fought in the Second World War, and my mama flew an airplane. She's from Cheatham County, didn't have electricity because she's a senior in high school, and Daddy was in the Marine Corps and fought the Japanese. Peleliu, Okinawa, went to China and fought the communists. My parents, and I think about them. I know that sounds crazy. All these thoughts run into your head, but I just think about where I came from and where I am, and I do not take that for granted. I feel like God, for better or for worse, has got me in this seat for some reason, and I'm just trying to figure out why. And it was every time I'm with a president or with a world leader, it is very surreal. But I do remember, though, that I represent Tennessee and our values and not Washington, D.C.'s values. And I sure as hell don't represent the values of the Democrat Party that can't even stand up and applaud a lady whose daughter was brutally murdered on a train, or a young family going to be able to afford a house. I watched Democrats berate one of their own members, a new member, for cheering. Just to me, it's really a shame of where the Democrat Party is. I'm mad at the Republican Party because I feel like we're fumbling a lot, but we are nowhere near as bad as they are. And I guess I'm talking too much because I'm really tired, but those are just some of the thoughts I've had this morning.
I don't think you're talking too much. I think that the things that you're saying are incredibly impactful, and that's why I'm not doing my usual interruption that I sometimes do, because I want to get all my questions in. But, I'm going to go a little personal. So you spoke about how it is surreal that, when you're in the presence of world leaders. But is it even more surreal to be able to just call the leader of the free world and have a conversation for 14 minutes? And he actually, he sees on his phone, Tim Burchett, and he's picking it up. I mean, that's got to be surreal as well.
It is. And he quotes me. He's seen me on he must be the only guy that watches CNN that I know on our side of the aisle, because he'll quote me every time I'm on CNN. I'm like, dadgum, this is unbelievable. I don't know if the guy ever sleeps. And he quotes me on things I've said on Twitter or X and Instagram. I mean, and on all the news services. And it just, he has a genuine like of me. And he's always been very receptive when I come into the Oval Office. He introduces me to all these big shots in there, and I don't know who the heck they are. I have to Google them when I leave, and it's kind of funny. Members will say to me, God, Burchett, man, what were you talking to such and such about? And I go, which one was that? Because I don't follow honestly, I don't watch the news. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch any of it. Occasionally I'll go on, if I know I'm going to be on CNN or Fox, I'll click it on the television in the morning to see what they're talking about so I can sort of figure out what they're going to talk to me about. But it just amazes me that this guy never sleeps. But yeah,
well, yeah,
you're kind of cool that I can call him, but I don't waste it. I mean, I don't. Hey, Mr. President, I'm out here fishing. Just want to say hello, or something. I'm working on my old motorcycle. Just want to say hello. I call him when it's important, and he calls me when it's important, and that's generally very rare, but it's always pleasant. He's never cussed me. He's never talked down to me. I hear all these people say this stuff, and honestly, I don't think I've ever heard him cuss unless he's talking about the Supreme Court. And
yeah,
so I don't, it's just, it is really surreal. And I enjoy that relationship, but I do realize I am the 435th most powerful member of Congress. So I get my role. But for some reason he likes me.
Listen, Congressman, if you've got his phone number, which obviously you do, and he'll spend 14 minutes talking to you on the day that he's supposed to be prepping for the State of the Union, I think you probably rank higher than 435th on the list of most powerful representatives. All right, let's get to the speech. So it was an hour and 41 minutes, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was not able to stay up and watch the whole thing because I work these gosh awful hours. But from what I can tell, it doesn't seem like it dragged. It didn't seem like there was a point where it was like, okay, we're done.
Yeah. No, it didn't. And I was sitting next to Luna, and Anna Polina Luna, and Boebert was beside her, and we were talking. I said, well, he's talked about this, he's talked about that. What's left? And because he talked in the stock market, he talked about our banning insider trading of members of Congress. And I was glad he talked about us being the dominant leader in oil and gas production in the world once again, and the wars that he's ended. And the Democrats mocked him with that. But it's the truth. He got on the phone and said, look, we're not going to play ball with y'all. We're cutting your ass off monetarily and business-wise, and we're going to cut the people off that are doing business with you unless you get out of it, unless y'all cool this stuff. And he did. He actually prevented probably close to what could have become a nuclear war between India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
And, Iran's nuclear capabilities are disabled. Nobody's talking about that. They dropped a bomb from 30,000 feet, and I was in the White House when Trump was explaining to us what exactly had happened, and we can talk about it now. They dropped this dadgum bomb from 30,000 feet and put it in a hole the size of a refrigerator lid.
Wow.
That is American excellence. That's not anybody else in the world that does that kind of stuff. And we took Iran out of the nuclear business. And, that's something that he talked about, too, is Iran, where they were headed and what we needed to do there. Talked about Mexico, and they're just, the cartels run that country. We know it, and they know it. Red tape being slashed, the tax deductions that people, and that's something the Democrats booed about. They said, and leered at him when he talked about tax cuts. To me, that's just America. We pay too much taxes. Working people are strapped right now, and it's because of government's inaction, and they're gutless. They just want to pass the buck. They don't have an ability to say no. Of course, he talked about the border.
Yep.
The border, historic low numbers. And you just can't get past all that. And those are huge successes. And people say, well, what's the border got to do with the economy? Well, I'll tell you what it has to do with the economy. I was mayor of Knox County for 8 years. We had a school that had around 200 kids in it. And I believe at one time they had 20 different languages that we had to provide, that you and I as taxpayers. And what happens when those people get sick? They go to the dadgum emergency room, and who picks up that tab? You and I do. What happens when they murder a kid after they've been let out by some gutless judge, or they rape some little girl brutally? Those assholes.
Oh,
excuse me.
Hold on. We got to hold on, Congressman.
Well, I've had enough of this crime. I've had enough of the Democrats making excuses for these people. And he talked about what's happening in Minnesota, $19 billion.
Yes.
I can remember when the state of Tennessee's entire budget was $19 billion. And that's how much they're stealing. And Omar has the ability in our great free nation to yell at the president about that.
Yeah,
it's just unbelievable.
Congressman, and I played that audio earlier. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib screaming back at the president. And one of the things that, I've always said this, I probably said it earlier today, but, part of what defines you is what outrages you. And the fact that, they couldn't stand in solidarity with the government protecting American citizens. They couldn't stand in solidarity with honoring the parents of a murder victim. I think that tells you that if they're not outraged over that, that tells you what their priorities are.
They're not our priorities. Medal of Honor recipients, the guys shot up. They had, some of them had a look of disdain upon their faces. National Guardsman who was shot up here in Washington, D.C. by a terrorist, literally. And, you see their leadership. I looked over there a couple of times. Hakeem Jeffries wouldn't clap, wouldn't stand up. And that is the leadership of the Democrat Party.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that CNN had a moment, that I played it earlier, but I'll encapsulate, which is that before the speech, something like 54% of the American people believed that Donald Trump's policy would lead our nation in the right direction. After the speech, it went from 54% to 64%. So I believe that, as we wrap this up, I believe that the president, this was a very good speech. It was a long speech, but I don't believe that there was time wasted. And it does seem like the president was able to make the case that our country is moving in the right direction.
I agree. And then when, they talk bad about our border security, those are people that are supporting sex trafficking, child exploitation, and drug trafficking. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing is supporting that. And that is the state of the Democrat Party today. I couldn't decide which they hated worse. It's not Donald Trump. I think it's they hate this country. They hate what we stand for, and they want to destroy it. And that should scare every American in this thing. I remember back when, and the media is in on it too, not you all, of course, but I remember when Marsha Blackburn asked for the flight logs of Epstein's plane, and Dick Durbin, the chairman of the committee, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. And he started mansplaining to her, and the national media sided with him. That should tell you where the national media is. That should tell you what it's all about. And we can do better. And God bless this great country. But man, if we don't have enough sense to throw those idiots out, I have a bad feeling that we're going to be like the Israelis. We're going to be walking around in the wilderness for 40 years, because we could really be in some bad trouble.
Well, we could be, and that's why I believe that the Republicans need to do whatever they can to pass the Save America Act, because as Donald Trump said last night, imploring John Thune to make sure that it passes the Senate, it's because if the Democrats get in and they ultimately get control, then you're right, Congressman, we could be in for a world of hurt. And one of the things as we talk about this, do you believe the polling that shows that Donald Trump and the Republicans are not doing well as far as the polling goes, the national polling? We talk about the lunacy of the Democrats and what they stand for and what they refuse to stand for, and I just have a hard time believing the polling.
Well, they own the polling. They own the media lock, stock, and barrel. So, again, Trump's never won an election because of according to them. I mean, every election poll you've seen is never in his favor. And a lot of our people, they don't. I've never been. I don't know about you, but I've never even taken one of those crazy polls.
Never.
So I don't know. I don't know who they're calling or what. I remembered when Tennessee was on the verge of passing an income tax, and I remembered Marsha Blackburn and I were talking about it, and they did a poll in Knoxville, Tennessee, that showed that they were overwhelmingly in favor of an income tax. And I said, well, what time did you all call people? And they called people at 11:30 in the morning, and it was in Knoxville's inner city, and they still could only get 60%. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. If you're in the inner city at 11:30 in the morning and you're answering and this was back before cell phones, and if you're answering your dadgum phone, you obviously aren't working. And sure, you don't want to pay any more sales tax. You want to tax somebody else. And that's what an income tax would do. And that was their polling. And that was at the University of Tennessee, and all of them were using as their polling data. That Tennessee, and I when I researched that, I found that was just, it's how they ask the question and who they ask. But granted, we got a lot of work to do. We need to start, and that's something that Trump and I talked about, and that's why he liked a lot of my legislation and things that I was doing, because they, we need to start listening to what he did when he won overwhelmingly across this country, and not what these wishy-washy congressmen, ran on, because the Trump agenda is what sells in this country. Tighten the border, strong military, locking up bad guys, stopping all this nonsense with these illegals in here, and stopping the flow of fentanyl. Things like that. Energy independence. That's what sells, not this garbage that Congress keeps putting out, both parties. So, I think people are going to continue to be dissatisfied, and it's going to hurt us that Trump's not on the ballot. It will. Regardless, you hear is negative if you're on the internet. If you talk to the average Tennessean, it's they're in favor of all those things that I mentioned.
Right, and a lot of people are across this great nation. Congressman Tim Burchett, thank you very much for joining us here on Nashville's Morning News. Try to take a power nap at some time and today and have some coffee. And again, I appreciate you joining us so early.
Thank you, brother. I'll sleep on the airplane.
All right.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, see you later. I've never had a congressman drop an A-bomb, Joan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but if anyone was going to do it,
it was him.
I'm glad it was him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Well, that's what happens when you're really tired. You're
passionate about your country.
And well, listen, I agree. I agree when Tim Burchett says
these people are crazy. I'm telling you.
I totally agree. I totally agree with Congressman Tim Burchett. All right, it is 6:55. Is it to my understanding we have a road closure that we need to mention real quick?
Yeah, Bradley Parkway westbound off-ramp to 24 westbound. It's a crash. The off-ramp is blocked off this morning. That may cause some delays. Be careful in that area.
All right, very good. We've got Brian Wilson coming up at 7:06. And Joan, what is coming up in the newscast at 7?
Yeah, we learned the plan for an ICE facility in Lebanon is over. We've got details on that coming up at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And I just realized we just mentioned that Congressman Burchett dropped the A-bomb. Nobody heard that, of course, on the radio because we dumped it. But
I hope.
You hope?
I hope no one heard it.
Okay, well, the people on the YouTube chat did hear. If you want to find it, go listen to the YouTube chat.
Is that important to you? Go find it on YouTube.
And watch me and Sam both rip our shoulders off reaching for the dump button. Anyway, it is. But you know what the thing is, Joan? If a sitting congressman drops the A-bomb, do you have to dump it? I guess you probably do.